Hey everybody, it's Grady, Twin Creek Audio, back in the studio today. Yes, back in the studio today. Today I have another mixing demonstration video for you. Today I'm going to mix the song Falter from Homespun Centaurs' The Back Porch EP on the Soundcraft Sapphyre recording console. The artwork for this EP is really cool. It was an actual photograph that was taken at a gig that we played shortly after the release of Homespun Centaurs 2. And so that was obviously photoshopped for the cover of the Back Porch EP, but I think the cover art's really cool. So just plug in some stuff that I've done in the past and the cool cover art that was actually Heath's doing. So good job on the cover art on this one, Heath. I'm going to take this song Falter, and I don't normally try to recreate the exact mixes from an album or anything that I've released. It's, a whole different approach with the analog gear versus mixing things in the box, which is the way a lot of this stuff was originally mixed. So today I've kind of emulated that a little bit. The main thing that I checked was the length of the plate reverb that we had on the vocals and some of the instruments in the original mix, and it turned out to be 2.1 seconds of reverb time with an astounding 56.9 milliseconds of pre-delay. But I've recreated that on the Yamaha Rev 500 today for this mix. And other than that, I'm just going to kind of go about it the way I normally do and substitute analog gear for the stuff in the original mix in the box and see what we get mixing through the Soundcraft Sapphyre. Let's get to it and see how this mix turns out. The reason I chose this song, or one of the reasons I chose this song, besides the fact I just really like it, is that it's really different from a lot of the other mixing videos that I've done. We've got a lot of different drum tracks this time. We've got kick, snare, stereo toms, then we have a hi-hat and ride cymbal track. There were close mic cymbal mics, then overheads, which is a stereo pair, and then we have a stereo set of room mics. So it's got a lot of drum tracks, and the trick to this mix is going to be balancing these overheads, room mics, and the cymbal mics like they need to be for this style of this track, which is kind of slow. Then we've got bass guitar, and then here are two acoustic guitar tracks. This one's in the center and this one's panned slightly to the right. This is a much brighter, more aggressive sounding acoustic track, and this one's more mellow and pretty. So I have them blended kind of like that. Just starting out, I haven't completed this mix yet. That's what you guys are here for, is to watch me kind of finalize this. And then we've got a guitar part here. We've also got another stereo guitar part down here. And we've got a lot of vocals. This is a lead guitar actually right here on this track. And then vocals. One of the things I'm trying to do with this mix is I'm really trying to get a very wide mix, a very expansive, deep, and wide kind of sound. And the Sapphyre is supposed to be really good at getting that. So that's another reason why I wanted to mix this song through this console today. The other thing that we did on this song is we used the ADT plugin, which is, if everybody knows what that means, ADT automatic double tracking. Which in this case I use this vacuum sound plugin that's free, and I've been using this thing for years, and it's a relatively clean sounding ADT, although you can adjust, to get some wow and flutter, things like that out of it too. But I love that plugin, and so that's on the vocals and possibly some of these guitars. Nope, just the vocals, ADT on a couple of these vocal tracks, which is why they're panned out down here in stereo. And then, of course, this is another guitar stereo pair. There's no ADT on these guitars, but it was, it's got some built-in, baked-in delay and reverb on these guitar tracks. You'll see this one's kind of a swells. It's labeled warble. The track itself in the box there is labeled warble. So I'm going to go ahead and play this back, just how it sits now, and see what else we need to do.
I
It already sounds pretty good. The thing I've got going on is I do have some compression on the kick and snare. That's the only compression on the drums. I don't have any parallel compression or anything. I have the Symmetrics 501 on the kick drum, and then I have the LA Audio 4x4, just the compressor section. I'm not using the gate on that. Obviously I have a gate on every channel of this console if I wanted to gate anything, which I'm not doing in this mix. I've got a little bit of EQ on the kick drum, basically just boosting a little bit of high mids for attack, and oh, I was tapping 80 hertz here, and boosting a little bit of 80. Not very much though. I don't want this to sound like a super modern kick. The drums are sitting further back in the mix than on a lot of the things that I mix, because we're looking for a wide, deep sound, not necessarily drums right up the middle in your face, not that kind of a sound. So I've also got a little bit of lows boosted on the toms. That's it, just a little bit of the 80 hertz low shelf EQ. And there's no EQ on the ride cymbal, but the hi-hat, I have a little bit of 12K and a little bit of 7K boosted on the hi-hat mic. On the room mics, I'm cutting a little bit of 12K and a little bit of 5K or 4K, wherever this is up here. I just use my ears on these guys, so hopefully you can see this. These knobs are kind of hard. It's hard to get this to come out on video, so I just kind of go through it and say what I'm doing here. On bass guitar, boosting some 80, boosting a little bit of low mids, and then also some about 700 to get a little bit of attack, or a little bit of, I don't know what you call that, twang or something out of the bass, so that it cuts through. It just sounds good. This is a really good sounding bass track. And I have the LA10, the Urei LA10 compressor on this bass guitar. On the acoustic guitar tracks, I actually am running both of these through the RNC compressor in super nice mode, and I'll show all the exact settings of this after the final mix, like I always do. I do a close-up of the rack gear, but you'll see the settings during the final mix. I always put that in a window above so you can see what's going on with the outboard gear while I'm mixing. So that might be on your screen large enough to see the settings on the rack equipment when it's running, but I do go over that at the end of every video with a close-up and talking about the settings. So here on this electric guitar, which is kind of a drony sound, I was what I would call it. I'm actually pulling out some 80, boosting some 12K, and boosting some 4K roughly, and pulling out some low mids out of that, as well as I have this high pass. I also have the room mics and overheads and the cymbal mics high passed, because I don't want a whole lot of low end. It's not really about that. We like the high end detail and the sparkle for this particular song. I'm also using the Yamaha Rev 500. I think I said that at the beginning of the video, but it's a plate setting, 2.1 seconds of decay time, and 56.9 milliseconds of pre-delay on that. And that's on the vocals and on this drony guitar part and on the more aggressive of the two acoustic sounding tracks. So I've got the reverb on the acoustic guitar that's farther down in the mix, while the main acoustic guitar that's panned to the center here doesn't go to the reverb at all. And then over here we've got mainly vocals and things going to that reverb. We've got all the vocals are going to that plate reverb on the Yamaha, as well as the lead guitar, and then I have one side of the guitar, it's the other guitar part, it's called warble on here, I think. I thought that one was warble, but actually this one's warble, that one's guitar drone. So to sum up, we've got drums all the way to here. From here to here is drums, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar stereo, lead guitar mono, vocal, 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 vocal. Let's start out and hear the drums by themselves. And again, there's no reverb on the drums at all. It's just stereo room mics, overhead mics. So the ambience that you hear on the drums is all the drums themselves. It's all the room mics or the overhead mics that's adding that ambience. I think even the closer mics like overheads, you do pick up some ambience like that. And in this case, we had the overhead mics pretty high and we had stereo room mics. So it sounds really good. Let's check out the bass guitar. One thing I really love about the Soundcraft Sapphyre is this little button right here. This says insert and HF/LF to monitor. And what that does is it takes the signal, the insert and this high and low frequency shelf EQ, and assigns it to the main channel, which is the small fader when it's up, and to the big monitor fader when it's down. Now the cool thing about that for me is when I'm mixing, I'm not really using this channel fader, so this doubles as a way to turn off the insert completely. So I can turn the insert on or turn it off. Of course, I'm also turning off this low frequency EQ band. But let's hear the bass without the little bit of low frequency boost or the LA10 compressor. And by the same token, we can do that same trick with the acoustic guitars. Of course, it does have a compromise in that you're turning off these two bands of EQ and sending them to the main channels here and not, but you know, let's hear the acoustic guitar that way. I'll start with this down, so you're hearing the acoustic guitar mics going through the RNC compressor, and then I'll press these buttons to turn off the compression. It'll also turn off this little bit of high frequency boost that I have right here, but you'll get the idea. Obviously the RNC is a really good compressor in super nice mode on acoustic guitar. It really makes the acoustic sound more beautiful than it already sounds, and it already sounds pretty good. So let's hear these two strange guitar parts. I don't have much going on with these. I have a little bit of EQ that I talked about a minute ago on this set, and then none over here. But let's hear those. I'm not really doing anything to that other than a little bit of EQ on this part, which is basically just boosting a little bit of highs and high mids and removing some muddy low end from that. Let's see what the lead guitar sounds like, and I'm sending the lead guitar to the reverb. I'm going to solo up some of the vocal tracks, just the two that have the ADT plugin on them.
I just need a little place to hide inside these lullabies.
Now let's hear that with all of the vocal tracks.
It's all so brittle. I just need a with Falter. I don't know, 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 I don't know. Against the altar. I don't wanna know, I don't wanna know, I don't wanna know, I don't wanna know. We will falter. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Against the altar.
So that's pretty much all the cool stuff I'm doing in the mix. I'm gonna give this a final listen, see if I need to tweak anything else, and then print the final mix here in a second. Okay, I mellowed out the snare drum just a little bit by removing some high mids so I could mellow out the attack, which was a little bit too much for my taste for this kind of a track. So I think that corrected that problem that I was hearing. And also, I'm just noticing how cool the vocal track sounds, and there is a huge 5K boost that we did on the way in when we recorded this, so that's why you've got that one track that's really cool sounding. We were also driving the preamp really hard, so that's why that one vocal track sounds kind of squished and kind of nasal. Well, that's not too bad. I think I can print this mix here in a second and be fairly happy with it. Mystery Blue Fader. I forgot to mention that, but that's the reverb return. If you've seen my other videos, you know that, but I skipped over that during the mixing part, sorry. But while I'm showing you the cool blue fader, which is a stereo channel on the Soundcraft Sapphyre, I'll show you it's assigned there to mix. And up here, Sapphyre, it has 2-band EQ on the stereo channels, and it has that cool width control from mono to huge, just huge. And of course, I'm not using that. It's just set in the middle for standard stereo operation. But I just think that's cool. Huge. It's got a huge knob on it. That's awesome. I love that. And it actually kind of works. I've used it before. Not using it today, but, you know, leave a comment if you want to see me use the huge feature on the stereo channels on the Sapphyre. So as promised, after the mixing part of the video, here's a close-up of the rack gear. The first thing to note is the top Rev 500. Thin plate preset, I tweaked the pre-delay to 56.9 milliseconds of pre-delay. And the reverb time, 2.1 seconds. High ratio, I tweaked that to 0.7. And the next down is the Urei LA10 compressor. You can see on that I have the detector circuit straight up in the middle, right between average and peak. The attack is slightly to the right of center, and the release is right in the center, 3:1 ratio. And the next rack unit is the Symmetrics 501 right here, and I'm using that on the kick drum. And those are the exact settings on that. Attack 1.5, release just slightly less than 30, ratios 2.2 to 1. And then for the snare drum, I'm using this channel of the LA Audio 4x4 compressor. You can see the settings right there. I just use my ears and listen, and in this case the release is right at 0.5 seconds. The attack is about 2 milliseconds. The ratio is about 5:1. And I just adjust that to taste. And then we have the little RNC down here, and that has the acoustic guitars going through it. Mainly the main acoustic guitar is going through the left side of that, so it's really triggering both channels off of just the left. But I do have the other acoustic guitar mic that's a little more aggressive sounding and brighter and panned to the right, going through the right hand side of the RNC, so it's being compressed as the guitar track that's panned in the center. And it just got a good sound that way, so that's what I went with. And it is in super nice mode, and basically it's like straight up and down, except the release is really fast. I always kind of like a fast release on an acoustic guitar track to give it a little bit of movement, and it just seems to make it sound really nice. So make sure you check out Homespun Centaurs The Back Porch EP, along with Homespun Centaurs self-titled debut and Homespun Centaurs 2. That's all 3 of the Homespun Centaurs releases. Links to that will be in the video description, so check those out. I put in a lot of hard work in producing, mixing those records, and all of those links and the other links in the video descriptions of videos on this channel all do help support this channel, so please check those out. Also, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the Twin Creek Audio YouTube channel, as well as telling your friends who are into this kind of thing to come check out the channel. I've got a lot of videos on here. Go back and watch. A lot of my videos are about different kinds of gear. I've got a lot of mixing videos, all kinds of good stuff. So if you haven't seen those already, go back and check out the playlists and things on this channel. I hope that you all have an excellent day, night, evening, weekend, weekday, hour, minute, second, nanosecond, whatever it is you're having. Have a good one. And thanks so much for watching.